Alright peeps, what's fucking happening? Hope you're all having a good wee start to the week and that. Can't remember if I was on yesterday or no. But I've got the house to myself, my wee boy's staying with his pal the night, so I thought I would come and make a wee video about this case that really interests me. Watched a documentary about it actually while I was in House in Kilmarnock prison. But before I get into that, I want to just say that some people leave comments saying like, some of them on the, I wouldn't say confrontational, but some of them are in terms of how I speak, right? The language that I use. Now, I'm a big boy, I can take it, know what I mean? But I never really intended this channel to be watched by any demographic other than Scottish people. Like, this was just done on a kind of whim, and it's kind of getting a few viewers, know what I mean? Like, I wasn't sitting thinking, oh, I'm going to fucking take over the UK and then crack America or that shit. Like, I just thought it'd be people in Scotland watching this. So, I don't really try and talk in a way that's no me. Do you know what I mean? Somebody commented yesterday they were from America, but they were born in Australia, grew up in America. Didn't write anything that was kind of confrontational or that. They're just saying like, oh, I need to pay attention 100% to understand what you're saying, and that's totally fine. But to the people who write things like speak fucking English and all that, like, listen, man, just why are you even watching this channel? Like, I wouldn't even sit and watch anything like that I couldn't understand. You know what I mean? I just find it quite funny. But it's mad because I watch a lot of kind of prison shit, and there's guys in like the deep south and fucking Alabama, there's guys in Tennessee and all that, and they can be African American, they're talking in right thick drawl, they're using a lot of slang, and I know most of the shit I can tell you I've written or saying, but at the end of the day, like, I do fucking read a lot about prison, watch a lot of prison shit, so you'd think I'd be sick of it by now. But it's all part of the studying, innit? But and there was somebody else that left a comment yesterday saying, and it was obviously in reference to what I said about the Donald Trump and Joe Biden kind of shit. And I find it, what the person said was, stop fucking talking one lot of shite and stick to the prison stories. Mate, if you could see the research papers for political think tanks and academic textbooks scattered and stacked all over my house, mate, then wouldn't it be, I'm not just some mad cunt watching CNN and BBC and just making up my mind. Like, I don't make up my mind about nothing until I've read it about 6 different ways, and then read it back to front and start to finish another 6 different ways. So, and it's obviously, I could tell with the language it's been somebody that's Scottish, and it just highlights what I was saying about the hypocrisy of people who hate anybody with a different viewpoint to them. One of the reasons that I couldn't be fucked on reapplying to do my PhD was because I just had this kind of, and maybe it's a stereotype or something. I just had this vision of these kind of people in academic institutions who, and I've said this before, like, I'm no for or against Donald Trump, right? Or any politician, but if you were to come out and say you were for Donald Trump, it's like, fucking get him, blacklist that cunt, cancel his student loans, fucking throw him out. Like what? You're the exact flip side of what you profess you hate. Like, you profess to hate fascism. To me, that is fascist behaviour. Do you know what I mean? It's like soft power. You're no dragging a cunt to a gulag or throwing him underneath a prison or working him to death for saying he liked a politician. You're just taking everything else he's fucking got until he just wishes that he was fucking worked to death. Do you get what I'm saying? So, people want to write stuff like that, man. Like, you're actually wasting your fucking keypad, mate. Do you know what I mean? Because there is nothing you can really say that's gonna flap me, man. I'm not being, like, we've all got buttons, we've all got a fuse. Mine's is just a bit longer now. And I'm not gonna be one of these cunts coming on the internet to sit and argue with people. To me, that's like the window warriors in the jail try to shout at you for one hole to another. Let's see, like, if a cunt in protection would shout across the yard at you, they would shout, let's say they know shit about your ma or something, or your dad, your sister, whatever, and they would start shouting out in front of every cunt, like doing the digger, as I've said before, like the cunts on protection shouting out the window at you and all that. And it's because they're almost 100% sure they're never going to walk into you. And that's just what that is to me. Arguing on the internet is to me, it's just like, you're arguing with a cunt you'll never go to meet. What is the point to that? So just just wanted to say that, you know what I mean? It really doesn't get to me, but the thing it does get to me is double standards. I think we've all had them at one point in our life. And I'm human at the end of the day. Do you know what I mean? But I'm a better human than what I used to be. But still got some maintenance to do. You know what I mean? But anyway, what was I going to say? So this this case that I wanted to talk about today, right? It was about this woman, right? Her name was Peggy Carr, and she lived in Florida, right? And this is one of the creepiest cases I've ever heard of. And it takes a lot to kind of creep me out, and I think it's because of the kind of mind games involved, right? So she fell ill one day, right? And she was complaining of like these symptoms, like pains in her feet, and like there would be hair loss and all this kind of shit. And to me, right away, I would know what that was. If somebody in my house started losing hair and was talking about sore feet and all, I would be like, straight away, that's a poisoning. And the only reason that I know that is because I just read a lot of weird shit about crime and cases, psychology, offenders, whatever. So anyway, Peggy lived with, I believe, it was her two sons, right? Two grown up sons, can't mind their names, and her husband, whose name was Pye Carr, Pye, right? Pye. No, Pie, right? So when she was complaining of these symptoms, her two sons also had symptoms, but lesser symptoms, right? So when she's reported to the hospital, they can't figure out how they've tested positive for arsenic poisoning. No, that is no something you want to be getting poisoned with. Not that you want poisoned, you know what I mean, but it's a bad thing to have. They can't get it back out once, I'm sure, once it's past a certain level in the blood, like, you're fucked, right? And the two sons recovered, but eventually Peggy Carr, the ma, she passed away like in agony, man. Fucking frightening to actually think how long this woman lingered, right? And at first, the police, when they're investigating and all, they were checking like the water supply, the fucking citrus groves, because there's in this part of Florida there's a lot of citrus groves, see like orange groves and all that, right? And fucking they can't figure out. They've tested everything. They've tested everything in the house, but they couldn't figure out where it was coming from. But they found this kind of. Do you remember in the 80s, right? Because this happened in the late 80s, right? Say like 88, 89, right? Remember in the 80s you used to get like, because I was only a wee boy, I'd have been about fucking 6 year old or something. You used to get these glass bottles of Coke with like the metal screw-on caps. Well, they had like a 6-pack of these bottles in the house, or an 8-pack, right? In like a wee basket, and they were all in the wee individual spaces, right? And I think there was a couple bottles left, and they've took them and tested them, and they were fucking. That's where the source of the poison was, right? So obviously the first thought is they've still got the lids on the bottle. It must have came from the factory. But the creepy thing is the police had checked and there was tiny minute tamper marks with a jeweler's screwdriver. See, like something you'd open my watch with or something, right? Which obviously the first thing you're going to think is, if that's not been done in the factory, then somebody must have broken in the house and took that, tampered with it, put it back. Pretty extreme lengths to go to poison somebody. And so obviously the first thought would be, if you were the police, you would be asking, if you had any issues with anybody, and they had no issues with anybody apart from the guy in the next house who lived with his wife, right? His name was George Trepal, right? His wife, I can't mind her name, but his wife was a doctor, and he was a chemist. Weird. So the funny thing is, at first I believe when the police were asking the sons, do you know who could have wanted to do this? And they thought it was their stepdad because he'd had an affair just before this, and he didn't test positive for any poisoning. So no, he tested positive for a really minute trace of poison. So they were like, oh, he's just took enough so that he would survive and we'd survive, but my ma would die so that he can fuck off with this other bird. But obviously if you're the coppers, the first person you're going to look at is the significant other, the spouse, whatever. But the weird thing was just before this happened, a note had been left at the front door saying, it was a post-it note typed, and it said, you and your so-called family have 2 weeks to move out of Florida or you will all die. This is not a joke. And it had the stepdad's name on it, Pie Car, and it was spelt correctly, P-Y-E, no P-I-E. So right away you're going to be like, if that's not the stepdad building an alibi, it's some cunt who knows this family, because I've never heard of any cunt being called Pie, fuck's sake, know what I mean? Unless it was one of these screws in the jail, it's fucking a bit, you know what I mean, a bit in the portly side. But when they've went to question them, they've said, is there MD you can think of, if you had any arguments with MD? He said, we were playing loud music and the next door neighbour had started screaming and shouting and blah blah blah, right? The cunt's wife and him, George Trepal, and his wife, right? So anyway, the police have went to his door, right? Chemistry books everywhere, fucking books, know what I mean? And they said to him, do you can think of any reason why somebody would want to poison your neighbours? No, the cunt said. Maybe he wanted them to move. Like, what? I don't get some of these people, like, is he rubbing their face in it? Or is he saying, come and get me, you fucking know it was me? Like, I don't know. Love the opponent but the cunt, because crafty guy, man. He had done a background check and he'd done time for manufacturing methamphetamine, right? Smart guy, I think he was a PhD level chemist, right? Knew his shit. So, prime fucking candidate for a poisoning, isn't he? So, they've not been able to really link him to anything until they've launched this undercover sting operation, right? And it was, they've done an FBI profiling on it, and they're like, right, I don't know if any's know this, right, but poisonings are typically done by females, right? It's not something it's kind of a passive aggressive way to kill somebody. Like, you sprinkle it or however you do it, and then you go back and fucking watch your handiwork, or so it's not up close and personal, like if you were going to plug fuck out somebody or put one in their dome, know what I mean? Where you need to get right up to them. So tells you quite something about his character. He's not the type of cunt that's got to get angry with you, he's got to get even with you, do you get what I mean? And you're not going to see it coming because he's a fucking sneaky Russian, know what I mean? But anyway, so this woman, she was like a cop. Susan Gorick, her name was. She wrote a good book about this. It was called Poisoned Mind, or was it Poisoned Heart? Fuck knows, Poisoned something. Good book. She's approached him because he was a member of Mensa. Have you ever heard of Mensa, the High IQ Society, right? He was a member of that, right? Unsurprisingly. And he'd launched this murder mystery weekend, right? And it was like all these people all sign up to it, and they've all got like, it's like what's that thing called? No Cluedo, is it? Is it like it's like a mock murder investigation, like you're the victim, you're the killer, you're the fucking lawyer, you're the whatever, right? The cop, the investigator, and they all get a clue, and they all need to try and solve this, right? So that was her in to start talking to him, and she portrayed herself as this kind of divorcee, down in her luck, looking for a friend, a shoulder to cry on, and he's took the bait, hadn't he? Which I find kind of, I don't know, maybe it was playing to his ego. But he had a wife, so what's ended up happening was she's kind of making out her husband was this big kind of lawyer, this big shot lawyer, but it wasn't a lawyer, it was a cop. And every time she made out that they were getting divorced and she had to buy a house, so George Trepal was moving into a new house but subletting his old one out, and he's like, I'll sublet my house to you, you know. Fucking idiot. Because obviously that gave them the legal in to search his house now. They couldn't do it because they'd no, but that was like him giving them permission now. So every time the Susan Gorick, the undercover cop's husband, would turn up, who was also an undercover cop, kidding on he was her ex-husband, he would start shouting at her, not in front of him, try to get a reaction at him, but he would just get up and walk out the room like a pure placid fucking shrinking violet, you know what I mean? But he'll poison you to death, you know what I mean? But it just kind of gives you an insight of the cunt's character, do you know what I mean? So they've she's got the deed to the house, but while this is all going on, she has been going to meet him wearing a wire, and the surveillance team's been recording it and all that for like a car park. Say they'd meet in a McDonald's car park, sitting on a picnic bench, whatever, and she's like, this undercover copper's met him, and she's like, I need to tell you, you need to come meet me, I need to tell you something. And she's went and met her, right? And he's like, now this was all caught in audio and video, right? And she's like, the police were at my door asking me, did something happen next door? And he's like, aye, some cunt get poisoned, they died. Pure, as if it was nothing. And she's like, you don't seem bothered about it. He's like, you know what I mean? Just giving off heavy signals, man, red flags, all the fucking camp. And he's like, oh, what were they saying? And she's like, oh, they said somebody had been murdered, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, I hope I'm not a prime suspect, that could be bad. And she's like, I think it would be, aye. But the funny thing is, right, which I find creepy, was all the way during this conversation they kept asking her, do you want to come back and see my new house? Do you want to come back and see the house? I'll be happy to give you a guided tour of the house. No, right, this is what's creepy. She's like, I've got shit today and I can't make it, blah, blah, blah. So they've ended up getting the search warrant again and searching the gaff, right? The fun fucking the poison, not to lie, it wasn't arsenic, it was thallium poisoning, no arsenic. I don't know how I thought that. Thallium poisoning it was, right? So they found the traces of thallium in the house, and I think they found the jeweller's fucking screwdriver set and all that, where he's went, know how the Coke bottle, the lid, it's like got the wee tiny ridges. He sat and opened every one of them to get that lid off and put it back on like a professional, man. Like, imagine the time it took him to sit and do that. Like, wow, man. So she's phoned him while the cops are away to bust him, but she's making out, oh, how are you and all that, and blah blah blah. He's like, oh, hold on, there's somebody at the door. Both coppers took him into custody, right? So the new house where this George Trepal, the cunt that poisoned the woman, his neighbour, has moved to, they've ripped his house apart, right? They went in the garage, right? And there was this, see like a, let's say a tool board where you hang your tool and it's got like the shape on it and all that. A pegboard, I think they call it. I'm not sure if that's the name of it. And they've took it away, right? And there was a secret door, right? And they've opened the door and what was behind the door? A fucking soundproof room, right? With a bed, just a fucking, like a jail bed with like, see like mad bits on it where you fucking spread eagle some cunt as if you're torturing them. And I was like, what the fuck? That was frightening, man. Like, which the indication is likely that he obviously didn't know she was undercover, or maybe he did and he just thought, I need to let a spider in the web, innit? But once he gets her in that house, mate, just pull a fucking, probably they pulled a gun on her, chloroformed her, done something to her to incapacitate her, then obviously get her in a soundproof room, you're fucked, mate. Behind a hidden wall, know what I mean? The thought that goes into some of these, the planning, this is just another breed of fucking criminal to me. It's no your average guy going out on a Friday, as I always say, or somebody going out stealing motors to make a couple of quid, or sell a couple of bags, whatever, man. He's fucking, nah, he's in it for the kicks, know what I mean? That's the frightening part. So he's obviously been taken into custody and remanded and all that. But eventually at the end of the trial he was found guilty, and he was actually sentenced to death, and the old bastard's still on death row now. He's the oldest person serving death row in Florida now. George Trepal, Trepal. Quite an interesting case, I thought. Because I'm not going to lie, a lot of the times I don't find poison cases really that interesting, but this one just gave me the creeps because it's the pathology behind it. It was just, nah man, you're just the wrong type of person to be walking about the streets, know what I mean? But and it's mad to think that he could be sitting on death row for 1989 or something. If I was in like primary three, and he's still sitting there now, like that's like doing a fucking two lifers and then getting probably never see an execution date. The cunt man, I think he's in his 80s now, and guarantee he's never like. I don't know what the regime is in the Florida death row, but if you're opened up and all that, I guarantee he's never been in a fight. And the American jails are another level for us, man. Don't think you could walk about and no get into a fight. It's hard enough trying to walk about Scottish ones and no get into one, know what I mean? Just passive aggressiveness, man, know what I mean? But probably put something in your fucking tea, because he would know every poison known to man, and if there was anything kicking about, and I don't mean like thallium, I mean there'd be plants and shit, he would know. Might not kill you, but it fuck you up, know what I mean? Bit of botulism out the fucking drain or something. You'll lie in your bed for 2 weeks shitting out your ass like a cat, know what I mean? But anyway, that was that. But fucking, I noticed my subs have went up quite rapidly. Well, normally so you only see it like going up like maybe 2 every couple of days, but it went up about 10 in the past couple of days or something. I was like, fuck's sake, man. Cheers anyway. But I'm going to head and go and chill in the room. Got to watch that. Is it Devil in Ohio or something? A mad thing on Netflix. I hope it's no supernatural. It just looked a bit creepy. I like to watch it like that. Think happy thoughts. But yous all cheers for tuning in, watching, subbing, all that shit. And I'm going to my class tomorrow. I was off a day. Went yesterday. I'd been off for 2 weeks. But there's a mad guest instructor. He's like a 4th degree black belt, this cunt man. See when I went in and I seen, he took his top off. Swear to fuck, mate. He looked like fucking one of them mad Greek sculptures. Pure fucking the 6-pack and the big muscles. Ah, oof, man. Twist your head off, man. Know what I mean? Come back for your legs, you cunt. But so he's doing a lot of classes in the club this week. So he was in yesterday, but he wasn't taking the class, if you get me. He wasn't like taking the class, but he's taking the class. He's taking the Saturday class that I'm in. He's been doing he done one last night, but I wasn't at the one last night. I was at one yesterday afternoon. So looking forward to it, man. Got to keep busy and that, innit? And all that. So yous all have a good night. It's nearly 11 o'clock, so take care, and I'll see you next time I'm back on. Good night.